There's no doubt about it that the weather itself looks very pretty to look at, especially how how beautiful the water is right now. So even then though, we get the probably idea at this point. So, hey everybody, this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog here, and Sylvester? Where on earth did Sylvester go? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about this, Sonic. I have to fetch my milk real quickly so that I can get my energy going. But even then though, let's get this thing over with, shall we? Okay, I don't know what that's about then, huh? Hey, this is me, Sylvester here. We are back once again for the likes of the Mercy Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario 3D World for the Nintendo Wii U. So last time we kicked the likes of Mauser, in this case Bowser in a cat form, in the likes of the World 8, in this case World Bowser is what it's known. And especially noticeable that we actually did manage to rescue all 7 of these Sprinklies for the second time. But this time around though with all in one jar that we actually did manage to break out. And today for this episode we're about to continue on and move on to, well, I wonder what this particular rock is actually here for. It appears to be we got ourselves a rocket ship. Don't know why the rocket ship was there, but even then though, we'll just have to hop in and find out. I can imagine that how the fact that we're going to be blasting out of space or somewhat, but I can assume because of the massive hint at the very end of the credit sequence, that might be very familiar if you guys played Super Mario Galaxy from before. So even then though, that we can actually discuss onto those kinds of stuff as we actually explore for this brand new world, introducing Walts Tour. Almost a sense of confusion from the likes of Walts Tour from the likes of New Super Mario Bros. 2. But except the fact that it was actually in the final actual world in the game. But even then though, this is actually the first special world in this game, oddly enough. We can go backwards fashion or something like that? I don't know. But yeah, we're now up to, now we are now to space, just like it does in the original Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. But except there's no Starship Mario to be seen. So, anyway, so the first level we got is Rainbow Run. Not to be confused as Rainbow Run from Mario Party 2, for that minigame. Walts Tour 1. So, yeah, as far as this world in onwards, is that the game starts to get really challenging, as you probably guys should already know at this point in time, so even end up that, yeah. So, for instance, in this level's gimmick is the fact that we're going to be hop onto this little rotating, rainbow platform, if you can probably guys can tell already. And in addition to that, though, it kind of reminds me of almost related to the Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 8 and something like that. Specifically, the ones in the remade version of the N64 version of Rainbow Road, most likely, because, you know, in Mario Kart 8, especially Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as well, that, the Rainbow Road on the actual Mario Kart 8 is not that pleasing to look at, in my honest opinion, so that I digress. So in this part right there, it's basically we have to once again have to solve this puzzle elements to the mix, but even then though, just like last time, we need to place the green ball into the certain switches. But this time around though, we have to deal with only 2 balls this time around, in addition to two switches. So, that's all you're really trying to do in these kinds of puzzles like this. If you screw that one up, then I'm assuming you have to retry the level and just trying to actually go back there again. But I can imagine that only cat ability can able to get to this point right there. Especially noticeable how the fact that we're going to be climbing up on the walls and stuff like that. Whoa! Whoa! Jesus Christ, that was close. Thank God we didn't die for that point right over there. Don't really think about it. But unfortunately, we've lost our cat ability power-ups. Even then though, I was really hoping that we can actually save up from that one point or another, assuming if we actually move on to the next level. Because as far as I can really tell, oh yeah, we got ourselves a plushie right there, strangely enough. But even then though, if you go to the far right, then you get yourselves a level stamp. So even then though, it's really easy to spot. So, yeah, as far as these special worlds are concerned, if you guys should already know about this, is that, it's only specifically for this special world in general, is that they only hold up stamps. But when we get into the other set of special worlds, I don't really think they're actually going to be including those stamps, I don't think. But even then though, we'll have to find out since we actually proceed for this point. So, in this part is that much like, I'm presuming Bob-Ombs below, from the likes of World 5, 7 if I recall, or I may be wrong about that. Sorry for lack of dialogue or anything like that, or it's maybe 5-5. But yeah, basically what I'm doing in this sequence here is the fact that we need to fill up the entirety of the pixel art, and guess what, who is in it? It's the 8-bit incarnation of Link. which means it's actually a reference to The Legend of Zelda. And speaking of the Zelda games, that looks awesome. Especially noticeable how the fact that, since it's already done that in Super Mario 3D Land, but now they bring that back, but this time in the forms of the actual 8-bit rendition of The Legend of Zelda music jingles. So yeah, that's really awesome. And also the same goes for the same goes for the likes of Sonic Lost World for the likes of The Legend of Zelda Zone, which I found was really cool and fantastic by the way. So even then though, with that being said, that's really cool. So I digress. Let's go ahead and swing from one place to another. So this might be no. Ah, darn it! Be right back. Okay, we're back. So as we mentioned earlier, that we're gonna have to get onto this little trapeze, most likely it does in World 5 too, but except the fact that there are only 2 of them, and plus they might be a little bit trickier to actually hop onto this time. So let's see if we can actually make it. You are kidding me! Seriously? Okay, 3rd time. There's a charm to this. Now, the reason why we keep on failing for this particular stage was, though, is the fact that, well, if you try to actually master with those control scheme when it comes to a trapeze bar, you do not able to actually do it successfully, you will lose to these abundance of lives forever. So, I was 1 off by getting that extra life back. But somehow, for some odd reason, I'm stuck at trapeze, apparently. But even then, that doesn't mean too much, though. That doesn't mean too much. But anyway, since we complete the level anyway, and as well as the stamp, that we got a stamp of the checkpoint flag. So, yeah, that's what it represents from, so yeah, I believe this level only contains only 9 levels, excluding the Captain Toad level, so even though that makes a grand total of 10 levels in this world, so yeah. Okay, quick edit right there. Sorry about that, folks, for that little jump cut or anything like that. It's just the fact that we have to revisit to the previous world, or in this case the previous level, the Rainbow Run. Turns out there's going to be 1 requirement to get that level stamp, and you know the cat power-up we're going to be holding through? That's what the requirement of the power-up we can do be. So even then though, that's why we actually did manage to off-screen ourselves to actually get ourselves a cat bell power-up in the process. So here we go, folks, on to Walts Tour 2 Super Galaxy. Even though it did missing out Mario and Luigi for that Super Mario and Super Luigi Galaxy, but it just usually says Super Galaxy. So, as far as this level suggests, we're going to be exploring outer space for a while, and in addition to those, in addition to actually exploring outer space, we also managed to come across into those familiar enemies. If you ever guys played Super Mario Galaxy before, especially noticeable in Super Mario Galaxy 2, here we have ourselves these Arctonauts are back. So, yeah, it's actually pretty sweet. But the noticeable difference this time around, though, is the fact that between this game compared to Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, you can't usually just easily just squish them while simply just jumping onto them, because in order to actually kill them this time around as the forms of we need to perform a ground pound, because as a result, I have no idea why their will allows us to be able to use the ground pound to kill these guys, but yeah, it's a bit weird choice. So, anyways, let's go ahead and just dash forward for a bit. Now, the reason why we're going to be selecting Princess Peach, because these a lot of platforming segments can get a lot more tougher later on, so even then though, it's especially noticeable when we're trying to actually grab, like, you know, green stars and the stamp or what have you, so yeah, that's why the challenge usually simply comes in. And also, we got these Lumas floating around, which is really cool. And also the music is really, does fit really well, especially in the space environment, so yeah, that's pretty simple stuff, well, really. So yeah, I think this is the part that, originally we did to try to test this out in our own time, that, the one with the level stamp that only requires. You could also do it alternatively while simply able to actually do our parkour tricks, most notably if you actually time your jumps and what have you, mainly due to the spin jump or what have you. Sometimes it's really difficult with Princess Peach, because sometimes she has a really hard time with, floating all that stuff. But if you think about trying to make it from here, it will not work, so only the cat power-up can only do the work. So, although you can't do it ultimately, but even then it's quite tricky and difficult to do it. And let me tell you right off the bat though, it's impossible to do it without the cat power-up, so. Anyways, and as a result, if we think about trying to get a game, if we lose a life from this level, then since we're able to lose our cat power-up in the process, then we won't able to come back for it though, so anyway. Oh jeez, it's a bit like when we played Super Mario Sunshine all over again with those treacherous platforming stuff, like rotational panels or tiles. That's insane, right? Anyway though, so I believe the third and final green stars are going to be at the bottom part of the level, so even then though, let's go ahead and say now we can hopefully try to actually— oh goodness gracious me. Oh jeez, jeez Louise. We almost attempted to fall off and die for that point. So anyways, a few things I want to mention is the fact that we've, since we're going to be uploading this during the likes of the 24th of October, because we managed to got back from the likes of the turkey holiday, and as a result, where we did have a fun time, well, I actually had a fun time there. Do we think about it, Sylvester? Yeah, exactly. Like as you expected, there's going to be a lot of sunny moments worth knowing for, but even then though, it's actually pretty sweet too. Oh look, there's Rosalina, in addition to the Comet Observatory from the likes of this first Super Mario Galaxy game, in addition to Super Mario Galaxy 2 at the very end of the game, so— yeah, so that's about it for Super Galaxy, and oh, looks like I just think that Rosalina is going ahead and decide to join with us now. Which, from the looks of her standpoint, I think that's what the stamped collection hints us for. And also forms out of the fact that the Rosalina and the Lumas did actually showed up on the stamp collection's sake. And which this meant it was is the fact that we're now able to actually get ourselves our 5th playable character introduced in this game, Rosalina. So yeah, about time. We even know that the first time we actually heard about this is the forms of thanks to the spoiler alert from the likes of the top 10 secrecy when it comes to Super Mario 3D World before upon its releasing, that Rosalina can now become a playable character in the entirety of the platforming genre for the very first time. Which same goes for the likes of the Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS and Nintendo Wii U as well, from that thanks to that little revealed. So yeah, it's interesting. And speaking of Rosalina, we're gonna have to select her on this level in particular, Walts Tour -3, rolling ride run. So let's go ahead and select her.
I'm ready. Let's go.
So yeah, I really like how she can clearly speak for that point or another. So anyway, so enough about this little jibby jabber. So let's move on to this level. In this level in particular, basically all you have to do is basically we have to constantly rolling this thing up until you actually proceed to the level. So yeah, that's all you really try and do in this level. So it appears to be we're actually going to be exploring this little toy town of any kind, almost very similar to the ones in Mario Party 5 Toy Dream, except there's no toy soldiers or anything else that desirable, or even these little— well, you still see these little blocks that almost exactly represents the Toy Dream from Mario Party 5. And there's no train involved, or in this case, no toy train involved. But I digress, enough about that. So Rosalina, if I recall correctly, that she has probably the most uniquest ability in her entirety of her moveset. But unfortunately we can't show this to you now because we're still in the cat formations, even then the only time we can only show you guys the this unique special ability for Rosalina is the fact that we can able to either become smaller formation of Rosalina, or potentially able to actually become this super formation of herself. So yeah, that's the first green star over there. Just hit into that mystery box, and then you would able to actually obtain it from. So yeah, that's pretty easy standard stuff. You can easily break this level with the green star requirements by the usage of the cat power up in there too. So yeah, that's actually pretty optimistic as far as I'm concerned with that. So another thing I need to worth mentioning though is the fact that we only got about 3 more days to go actually. The forms of Super Mario Odyssey were about to come out in during 3 days time, so even then still looking forward to it. Yep, exactly for surely. And also that what else we need to actually say about— oh yeah. Recently that one thing that Mario and Luigi haven't mentioned about this during the likes of the Super Mario Bros. 2 Let's Play after they managed to finish that game. Recently that Fire Emblem Warriors, not only for the Nintendo Switch, but also the new Nintendo 3DS / new Nintendo 2DS XL, managed to came out during that time. So even then though, that, yeah, that's actually pretty cool by the looks of it. But I don't know which version's probably the best of all the bunch, but I'm assuming it's more accurately the Switch version most likely because of the— well, higher resolution and all that stuff, and also the HD quality and all that stuff. While the 3DS does have these own standard quality moments, but if you ever think of playing like Hyrule Warriors Legends, for specifically the original models of the 3DS, mainly the original ones and the XL version, my lord, the frame rate on that version looks absolutely horrendous. I digress. So yeah, there's a level stamp here. Only Rosalina can activate this, because if she managed to do, then if you manage to select her specifically on this level, then yeah, you can pretty much guarantee you can pretty much press that button immediately. However though, if you play as Mario in this level, or Luigi or Peach or Toad, then it will not able to happen, so only Rosalina can. So this might be the final time, well not exactly the final time we're going to be seeing those specific character switches, but that honor goes to the future special worlds and onwards, so even then though, we'll definitely have to find things out once we get to it, so... Anyways, let's go ahead and move along from this point here, because if you manage to obtain the double cherry power-up, in addition to actually holding up your 2 clones of yourself, that way you should get yourselves a final green star from the top. Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool, I have to say this much. I might as well take a long jump right there, because I just don't really care for the clone, honestly, although it might be really helpful, but there we go, that's it for Rolling Ride Run. Really love the aesthetics in the background, probably because of how the fact that, you know, it just makes the entire level theme a little bit more interesting, so, yeah, as far as we already noticed that already. And the level stamp is the forms of the small incarnation of Rosalina. So, yeah, cool stuff. And we got 252 stars, green stars at the moment, so even then though we still got some plenty of green stars to hold up for, so even then that we would able to actually unlock more levels and all that stuff. So anyways, let's go ahead, and before we move on to Walts Tour 4, there's actually a sprinkly tent we can hop into. So that way we can get ourselves our stamp on this particular house. And the stamp for this is catch Mario climbing up to this wall. So yeah, that's all there's really to think about it. Alright. And now we're going to be hit on to Walts Tour 4, and this is where the level starts to get really ridiculously harder as you proceed, because it's especially noticeable on this level in particular. A full warning, I highly recommend using Toad on this level, because not only due to the fact that how this level is going to be twice as short as it used to be, but it's also, he's quite fast, and overall, he's just fast in general, so I highly suggest you recommend selecting him, because, you know, if you select Peach or Rosalina, I'll discuss more details until we actually get to this point, so even then, Toad is the definition of a top pick for this level, because, you know, he runs fast. So for the start, that you think about trying to actually finish the level with no problem, but it turns out it wasn't, because obviously the flagpole is getting away, so... yeah, the only time you can only finish the level is by simply have to go after it, so... let's grab the stamp quickly, so thanks to that invincibility frames, after getting hit by the wall eye, then we would able to actually just manage to be perfectly safe. And there's also a second green star. The third and final green star is going to be at the very top of the final point of the level, so... oh my god, you're kidding me. Yeah, from my personal standpoint of this level, it does remind me of almost related to the based off of the level from Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, from the forms of one of the 15th level from Chapter 1, but in forms of how the fact that we need to hop onto these donut lifts, so yeah, that's understandable. I don't really think this part is entirely endless, it's basically just a linear path, because as far as I can gather, although I may be wrong about this, but if you let the flagpole continuously going all the way to straight forward on this final part, I can imagine that how the fact that you would able to actually just let you know that the flag itself will go endless. So, in fact, this level does remind me of almost related to the Chaser level from the likes of Super Monkey Ball 1, and especially noticeable in Super Monkey Ball Deluxe for GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. Oh yeah, because you know how the fact that in those levels, that the goals are running away from you, that's probably one of my favorite levels in the entire game as a matter of fact, or the entire series for that matter, so... anyways, we're going to do this level again, because, thankfully this level wasn't as long compared to it does in the previous levels, because thankfully, this particular flagpole wasn't nearly as long to actually get to it, so it's just a matter of, what's the point of actually having ourselves a fire flower? Give me some good items, damn it. Like, for instance, the cat bell power-up, or anything else for that desirable. I mean, surely the fire flower won't be that much of a problem, but it's just the fact that we need something a little bit more handy and nifty at the same time. Like, you know, for instance, you know, the cat bell power-up, so... Anyways, let's go and grab ourselves a gold flagpole in that particular level itself, because again, thankfully this level wasn't nearly as long as compared to the other levels throughout, so even then though that when the levels are entirely long enough, then we can pretty much guarantee we have to cut things off, and then hopefully we're trying to actually sort things out for this point, so there we go. Now we move on to Walts Tour 5 Super Block Land. As far as this level suggests, it's entirely made out of blocks, so in this case block-shaped environment. And yeah, this music is very familiar because that theme is actually based off of from Super Mario 3D Land in the forms of Special 2-1, after when you manage to unlock Luigi. Speaking of stuff though, is that, yeah, this one usually happens if you manage to unlock Rosalina in this game, is the forms of you must able to complete Walts Tour 2, until you're able to finish that level, then you would unlock her, so it's a bit like it's something a little bit similar to the ones in Super Mario 3D Land, that back in that game, that there's actually an unlockable character which is forms of Luigi. And in order to actually unlock him is by simply we must able to finish the first special castle in the game from the special worlds wise, because thanks to the post-credit sequence, then yeah, oh goodness gracious me, that was close. Thankfully though, we managed to land safely with those particular blocks on one hand. Oh, you really? There's no higher than that, but even then though, let's just see how this is going to turn out. Oh, thank you, Josh and Chuck, for actually just let us a hand. Nice going there, buddy. Anyway, so let's go ahead and quickly go higher up, so just in case. I really highly recommend doing a ground pound, honestly, because even then though, this makes the entire block sequence a hell of a lot easier. So even then though, that if you don't, then you pretty much guarantee you won't get a chance to get grabbing at. So level stem is pretty easy to spot. Thanks to those, you know, bigger blocks, they're just trying to block the alcove of the hole down there. So anyways, let's go ahead and continue. I'm quite surprised at how the fact that, oh yeah, there's actually a bomb right there. Now we need a bomb to actually explode this particular grey block itself, because green star number 2. So anyways, let's go ahead and obtain that as soon as we don't fall off, because if we do fall off, not only do we able to lose our chance for ourselves for, although we still keep ourselves our first green star, and especially the level stamp, but we have to redo the grab-a-thon again, so even then that won't be as fun as it used to be. But anyways, we got ourselves yet again with the grabbing all 5 of those key coins, as far as I'm aware, and the third and final green star. You can either do it in 2 different ways actually. For one, if you have yourselves a Tanuki Leaf power-up, that way you should able to actually fly across the chasm, and then that way you should able to grab it. But I believe there's also another alternative way, is the fact that you would able to actually ground pound one of these bigger question mark blocks to actually create a Titan block tower, or in this case a Titan blocks, so that you would able to actually reach up to the highest point of the level, and then you should able to realistically grab yourselves a green for the third and final green star. Sorry for the lack of dialogue, folks. It's just basically that, you know, there's not much else we can say for this point and onwards, because even then though, that today is actually forms of the 24th of October, which as we established earlier, that we got back from our holiday vacation ever since then during that couple of days ago. So even then though, that we must able to actually finish this Let's Play done and over with before Super Mario 3D, Super Mario Odyssey will about to be released sometime. So even then though, because of that, we still only got about 3 more days left until that upon is releasing on. So before we move on to the next level, there's going to be a Captain Toad level we're going to be hitting to. Captain Toad takes a spin. As far as I'm aware, this level suggests is the fact that we're going to have to constantly activating those P-switches. What's that? Well, as soon as we activate them, then we can actually traverse the entirety of the cube shape. And basically, but the thing itself actually tilts itself. So even then though, that we need to be very careful at this part, because even then though, we don't need to actually get electrified, or even especially noticeable though we don't want to die on these parts. So let's hopefully try to go after there, trying to actually just deal with these kinds of stuff, but at least something. Anyway, so let's go ahead and just go across from here, so that just in case we weren't able to get... Actually, let's go ahead and get dropped down here, so that way we can... Oh god, good grief. Thank god we didn't get hit by this little electrified enemy over there, right off the bat. But as long as the fact that this level wasn't nearly as bad as it used to be, but however though, this level is by far the most longest out of all the Captain Toad stages, because not only for the purpose of I think it's that unnecessary to actually activate the P-switch, Sonic, because I'm assuming we actually missed out the third green star. Oh, yeah, that's kind of my fault. But hopefully we'll grab it until that time period, but even then, oh, there's a wall blocking it. Oh boy. The frost, and we got hurt, but that's okay, because even then, we still only got one chance left. Oh, we're gonna die! Oh, phew. That was close. That was utterly very close to that little regard. I believe this is the fifth and final green star you're going to be grabbing though, but obviously that had the fact that we wasted our time on these particular levels so far because, you know, we somehow accidentally bypassed the third and final green star for that particular level itself. Actually, we could potentially try and drop down here to make it a little bit more easier to come by, but, I don't know about you, but hey, at least we can do it though anyway. So let's activate that, and now we can hopefully try to be very careful at this point because obviously we don't wanna, you know, don't wanna get killed by these huge humongous amount of enemies to actually get to deal with here. And there we go, level completed. And yeah, the Captain Turret's mouth doesn't open, so you can end out that, yeah. And also the green star itself's color, they're a little bit off-colored right there. I think it's probably due to the lighting of the space environment and all that stuff. 263, so have we still got quite enough for the latest parts of the game? Well, let's just say right now, we definitely should be. Honeycomb Star Way. Now, what's a little bit different compared to any other levels of this game offers, is that we actually introduced into probably the most uniquest level gimmick in the entirety of the game. Because as soon as we start off, the top-down perspective. Which this means is that if you ever played Galaga, or even especially noticeable in these random shooting games in the arcade machines from the top-down shooting perspective, this looks very similar to Galaga, or even especially noticeable in these little different top-down shooting games in the arcade machines. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And also we got these very famous remix version of Gusty Gardens Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy, but it's now being remixed onto this particular brand new version of it. And also I believe it does also have this in the likes of Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo Wii U as well, so I kinda wish it has that music in the likes of what did I say Super Mario? Mario Party Star Rush for the 3DS from the likes of the Rhythm Reticle, so even then that way it should able to fit this music super well. But turns out it's just basically just the original version of Gusty Garden Galaxy instead. Anyway, so let's go ahead and just get rid of these body parts. So that way, it's mandatory in order to actually deal with these kinds of stuff, because if we do, then we would able to actually realize that the second green star will pop up. So even then, let's kill this little last moron here. And there we go. So for the most part, this level wasn't as hard as it used to be. The only time it makes it a little bit hard for you is the fact that if you're actually trying to actually grab yourselves, I would say the third and final green star, and possibly the level stamp, because every now and then the enemies will now start to actually go ahead and kill you this time. So yeah, this might be a little bit tricky part, so you can end up that as long as we actually pay very attention to these little enemy patterns, we should be fine. Yeah, sorry for the awkwardness going on here. It's just the fact that I've got so tired because of how the fact that we actually got journey way back into the airport itself, or in this case the flight to the airplane, which as far as I'm aware, I'm not usually looking forward to actually get onto the plane again, because as far as I'm aware, because you know, my irritating ear popping is always irritates me the most, and yeah, that's all I can say. Oh god, surrounded by these bee enemies! Come on, quick! Come on, it's not far enough, thank you. Oh, phew. That was utterly very close, especially noticeable that we almost died after we managed to left off screen. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's just equip the Tanuki Leaf power-up right there, so just in case for the golden flagpole's sake. So, such as so. So yeah, we've usually got about 3 more levels left actually, because even then, as far as we already know, that this world might be a little bit longer compared to how it does it in the previous worlds we've been into, so... Anyway, so we got ourselves an Octonauts, stamp picture image. But unfortunately though, during next month, that it will no longer be usable for the Miiverse post, which to me is almost like awfully disappointing. So even then, I think the Miiverse is actually really functionally did this quite well, between not only for the Wii U but also the 3DS as well. So anyway, Gigantuan Quanto from the likes of Luigi's Time to Shine, level star 7. And as far as this level suggests, we're going to be exploring in this particular forest-looking place. In addition to that, we might actually go ahead and come across into a Mega Mushroom as well. So, yeah, that's as far as the Gigantuan name actually stands for. So that means this actually represents the Mega Mushroom should be in here. And I believe it's actually onto this particular block. So yeah, that's all I can really imagine about it. So for the most part, that at least specifically both the stamp and especially noticeable in the first, although the first green star wasn't that much the problem, but the majority of these collectible items, most notably, this level stamp and especially noticeable these 3 green stars, will most likely requires you to use the Mega Mushroom. Well, there are some alternative ways to get the Green Star number 1, but Green Star number 2, especially Green Star 3, I say Green Star 3 because we'll get into that as soon as we get to this hidden alcove, so, oh you stupid bloopers. If I can recall correctly, if we manage to activate the burrowing flower, and then as soon as we hit the Mega Mushroom, then it'll still allows us to turn back into its normal self again. At least specifically for normal counterparts between these either characters we're selecting for, so... Anyways, this bounce high enough, so just in case we would, able to actually just to get ourselves a second green star. And it looks like that Bluebird's gonna go after us, but even then though, since we giganturism and stuff like that, that means we have no problems with this particular tentacle guy. So, anyway. Alright, so I believe this is the final part on this particular Green Star Grappathon in this level, and this is the best recommendation for this particular final section suggests is the forms of the Mega Mushroom itself, obviously. So, another thing that's worth mentioning though is the fact that, recently we managed to watch ourselves My Little Pony Friendship Magic once again by the forms of Season 7, and it looks like we only got 2 more episodes to go until Season 7 is fully concluded. Like, for instance, we actually already watched, the Uncommon Bond in the forms of episode 24, which, from the looks of it, still looks pretty good. But even then though, that, yeah, because of that, really looking forward until how the Season 7 finale is going to turn out to be. Well, I have to admit though right away is that the finale in Season 6 was a little bit too disappointing and probably one of my least favorite finales of the particular show so far. I mean, it might be cool because of the Discord and especially Trixie and especially Starlight Glimmer and Thorax are usually gonna team up together, which even then though that way they'll save the main 6. But even then though, that aside from that I was really hoping that the finale of Season 7 should be a lot more intenser than the likes of, although it will be exactly almost intense, just like it does in the season finale of Season 4, which the forms of still is one of my favorite finales of all time, but I digress. Alright, so Peeves Fog Bog, in this case Walts Star-8, is the fact that we not only do we get ourselves a haunted theme level of any kind, but also the snowy themed level, so... Yeah, so before we actually go and get started with the likes of grabbing those key coins yet again, we need to actually go ahead and just get ourselves a Starman real quickly to get rid of these Peepers over there, until we rescue the Captain Toad himself, and we can able to get ourselves the first green star. So now the only trickiest part comes into play, and those here forms of how the fact that we need to find all 5 of those, coin keys. Honestly, these were by far the hardest part about this level, honestly, because since we haven't usually touched this game for quite some time, because it's especially noticeable that we're so used to with the Galaxy games, or even especially noticeable that we're actually going back onto the previous 3D Mario games at this point, we don't know exactly which way are we going, so even then though that because of these little doors, this level does remind me of almost related to Waltz 6-1, to me though anyway, from the forms of Super Mario Bros. 2, in the forms of Waltz 6-1, because I say that because much like in that level, in that game, you do need to figure out, assuming if you actually haven't played this game from time to time, you do need to guess which is the correct pathway you're going to be taken through with these particular doors, or predictably the warp pipe bars, if you ever played the Super Mario Bros. 2 game before. So, Anyways, before we continue, and let's go ahead and grab ourselves the some snowballs to play around with, even though it might be a little bit unnecessary. Sometimes you might actually waste about like 200 seconds remaining for this first section, because if you don't know where you're going, then you might as well get yourselves confusion, and just for the sake of like, you know. And this is a good example that we need a snowball to begin with, just to toss the power block from the start. So, yeah, I definitely need to figure out which one is the correct door which will actually lead us to the next key point, which I can imagine that it might be a little bit random and luck-based, though I have to admit though right away. But I digress. So, another thing that's worth mentioning though is the fact that, recently that Mario and Rabbids Kingdom battle, that Mario and Luigi haven't mentioned this during the likes of Super Mario Bros. 2 from the likes of that Let's Play, eventually, that Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle did recently release a new DLC, which informs of the Ultra Challenges, which means it's more accurately the harder versions of the levels themselves, with some tougher obstacles this time through. So, yeah, that's a little bit more different in terms of how the content will work out. So anyways, I think we've already been to this door, haven't we? Yeah, I think we've already been to that door already, so why don't we try the right side this time? Specifically the ones in that door over there. And conveniently enough, we actually got to the correct path. Oh, Jesus Christ. We actually did waste about 200 seconds on the first ever section in this level. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I kinda wish it has like a, you never had the likes of Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2. And especially, the ones in, although it doesn't have it on Sonic 06, unfortunately, from Shadow's Kingdom Valley. But even then, though, I kinda wish it has a Queen Key monitor, so even then though that one tells us that if we are cold, or hot, or warmer, or hot, as far as I can really imagine about saying for this much. So anyway, so let's go ahead and get ourselves our beloved checkpoint before we actually die on this part, so... But yeah, as far as this level suggests, it's all foggy all over the place, so... Take the ones on the right for this mystery box, because even then, if you do take it from the left, it's clearly just a merged. So yeah, if you get closer to this green star, then you would able to actually realize it'll disappear. So, anyways, so let's go ahead. Yeah, that particular mystery box will be fake, because obviously if you go towards it, you could potentially guess that it's a fake. So, anyways, let's go ahead and toss the stupid traction. Sorry, I didn't mean to do a loudest voice or even just a hideous laugh, but I digress. So, anyway though, yeah, for the most part, although thankfully though, we got a checkpoint right there, so even then though, we got that at least. But even then though, that it doesn't help the fact that we need to re-grab the second green star again, so we'll just do that again. And hopefully defeat those snowman-looking pokey enemies type. And even then, we'll grab the snowball in the process too. And we need to be very careful at this part, because even then, if you don't know where you're going with these invisible paths, or in this case, just the fogged out paths, as you already know, what happens was though is the fact that, yeah, okay, don't trust these boost paths, because sometimes your controlling can get really messed up at points. But at the same time, if you completely ignore it by just, you know, potentials, then you would able to actually just to completely ignore these obstacles like this. So anyways, I think we're pretty much done with that level. Oh gosh, these little peepers I definitely need to avoid. But even then, there's gotta be a way to actually get ourselves a golden flagpole to get to it, so... Let's see if the long jump in the wind will help, or just a simple jump. If I recall correctly, the long jump won't do anything for the jump heights wise, but even then, I can assume that the normal jump will do the work. So there we go, that's Peepers Fog Bog from the likes of, well, Walts Tour-8. And now we're going to be moving on to the last level in Walts Tour before we move on to the next special world in the game. Now, you know how the fact that in the original, in this case, Super Mario 3D Land, they only contain like 8 special worlds on that game. I can imagine that this game will actually have lesser amount of special worlds, so... In order to actually unlock this level, by the way, you actually require 210 green stars, and if you do have that enough, then this will actually lead us to the Cosmic Canyon Cluster. For this level, we'll definitely have to go for Princess Peach, because this is probably the trickiest original level in this game, so... And once again, we're going to be exploring in outer space here, so even then know that, yeah. Now, as far as this level suggests, that the name suggests, is the fact that we're going to be using a cannon box, much like it does from last time. Except the fact that we need to actually deal with a combination of not only for the cannon box shots, but also for the likes of this particular moving platform over there. So yeah, you can be expecting how tougher this game can be later on, especially noticeable that, even though we will get into this little topic until we get into the later down the road, but, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dry Bones, but even though that despite the fact that you are the power Dry Bones, the most annoying variations of Dry Bones, but I could appreciate how the fact that you did manage to let me get to that stamp over there. So yeah, I believe the majority of the green stars, especially the level stamp which you can clearly see, is most likely focused on is basically just cannonball shots, most likely, so yes, unfortunately for any luck of Tanuki power-up or the Cat Bell power-up, it will not be working out for these particular requirements to actually collect those things. So, yeah, for the most part, it's just basically just Cannonball box until you're able to actually get everything you get. So, sometimes I have a really hard time in this part because especially noticeable when my jump button doesn't seem to register that quite well, but even then I will try to figure out again. I really do love the music though still, but even then that I believe that music did heavily borrow that in World Bowser, or in this case, I think it's World Castle actually, because, you know. Anyway, so the first green star, you need to use the cannon box just to actually blast the cracked wall until we're able to grab it. Now I believe the second green star is not that bad either, it's just basically we need to actually get to this point over here while dodging those cannon shots in the process. And then we should able to actually just go slightly slowly, and then we would able to actually get to ourselves the second green star while actually busting this little wall until the far right in the lower part of the level, if you should say. So we would able to actually get ourselves the, yeah, as you can see, this little tiny bit of blocks and stuff like that. I suggest you do a quick ground pound there, just in case if you don't ground pound just in time, you get crushed as soon as we actually go onto the auto-scrolling section. So, yeah, as far as I can say about this now. So, yeah, for the most part, it checks out there. However, though, there's one particular problem I have with this level. It actually forms at the very end. But even then, though, we'll get into that as soon as we get to it. So, because of that, for the most part, we don't have any issues at the very beginning, especially in the middle part so far. But the end part, on the other hand, is atrocious, if you say this much until now. But even then, we'll get to that as soon as we actually get a checkpoint first, in addition to the third and final green star we can actually obtain from. So, yeah, let's try to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so looks like we got to constantly pressing those switches, so just in case these rails will actually change formation. So even then, that everything else checks out there. So here's the third and final green star, so how you should go ahead and just activate all the switches, and then if you go all the way over there, jump immediately, because you don't want to fall off and die, because if you do, then you have to redo the process again, so... yeah, but if you don't time the jumps and whatnot just right, then you would realistically gonna fall off and die in the process, so... but at least that part wasn't too much of a big of a deal, because you got plenty of time. But the last part, which is this part here, most certainly is. Because all you have to do is basically we need to activate these exclamation mark switches, and as a result, if you made one simple mistake, especially with those annoying power dry bones in your way, then prepare for yourselves a lot of trial and error like that. Stupid dry bones. Alright, we made it to that point, and let's just see if we can actually try to, hopefully, God forbid, try to pass it this time. So, I think the only best strategy you can only think about this level, though, is specifically the ones at the very end, is that I highly recommend you trying to actually, God forbid, trying to actually get rid of these dry bones, because especially noticeable that, yeah, as you can tell, that we've instantly managed to catch off guard by these little abominations like these, and sometimes they're really annoying, because they're especially noticeable, they're really directly trying to home in onto you. Then the best thing you're able to actually get rid of them is the forms of you need to perform the cannon shots just right until you're able to actually just let them fall out. So, I mean, that way it should work, but another thing you need to be really accurate for, and also forms of the angle of the shot, because if you aim it at the wrong angle as possible, you're gonna have a really hard time when it comes to angle see, when it comes to getting shots like this, and as a result, it might take you plenty of tries in order to actually just to bypass this part, and there we go, finally. Oh jeez, I really hate these enemies sometimes, I still really do, and somehow we managed to get hit by accident. But still, we couldn't potentially try able to actually make our way to the gold flagpole that is, but at least we've accomplished it. And there we go folks, that was it for Walts Tour. See if you didn't know that some of these levels are quite easy to actually get these levels done, but some of them are really tough and difficult, mainly due to this level in particular, which is the, you know, the Cosmic Canyon Cluster. So, this might be the final stone we're going to be grabbing for the time being, because when we move on to the next level, I might add, in this case the next new world in this particular game, in this case the second special world, we can expect that we're going to be moving on into the one that we need to actually most likely collecting green stars, most likely, because if we hop in here to the secondary rocket, which I don't know why that was there, and this will instantly transport to us into a second special world in the forms of known as, as soon as this little introduction sequence is done, World Mushrooms. So we're gonna have to end things off here, folks, so tune us next time on Let's Play Super Mario 3D World. It's the fact that we're going to start things off with World Mushrooms. So yeah, this is gonna be a long marathon, so see you guys next time. Later fellas, see you guys then.